is pretty much going to be a live demonstration of everything that we're going to go through. So obviously, first thing, the link to the website is portal.polarmonitoring.com. All right, and when you log in and when you create an account, you will have a dashboard that looks similar to this. But where we're going to start is we're obviously going to start with creating an account. All right, so there's two methods of creating an account. One is that you're obviously invited by somebody who already is on the Polar system, right? This will come through as an email to you and say that you need to complete your account registration. Okay, the second part for this is if you are connecting a device for the first time. All right. The first option, obviously, when somebody's inviting you, we'll get to that when we get to the user section. But to start off with, when you get a device for the first time, you're going to obviously want to register your own account, and that's done simply by the register here section, where you'll fill in your account details and you'll go in and register your account. All right. Simple procedure. Obviously, you're going to put your password in. You're going to give yourself a group. Okay, so what this group name, the only thing really out of the ordinary here is the group name. We'll discuss groups in a bit, but this is how we obviously manage access on the platform. Okay, so you'll give this a group name, your company name, or your site name, or whatever you're going to do on the system. You're going to put a name to it, and that's where you're going to start it with your group name. Okay, so back to the registration side. We've now created and registered an account. With that procedure, it'll ask you to verify your email address. And obviously, that'll then bring you in to the actual cloud system. Okay, so once you've got your username and password, you're going to be able to log in, and we're going to now sign in here, and then that'll bring us into the cloud. Now we're going to move over to groups, which is the next section in the system, because obviously now we need to be able to manage our groups. As we mentioned, when you're creating an account for the first time, it asks you for a group. And we're going to need to create a group for our system. Okay, cool. So let's jump into groups here. You'll see this is our dashboard. We can see everything we need to do here. There is a bunch of menus on the left-hand side as well. There is a bunch of menus on the right-hand side as well. Okay, what these do is your left-hand side is for your general day-to-day usage stuff, and the right-hand side is more for your in-depth data, your groups, your licenses, that kind of stuff, your profile settings, your user control settings. Okay, all of these things are obviously accessible as well from the main screen, which is obviously the home screen. So if you click home, it'll bring you to the screen. All right, so we're going to jump into groups, which is available on the home screen, or alternatively on the right-hand menu here under groups. Cool. So when we're on our groups now, we can see a list of the groups that we are part of. Okay. What these groups are, and I've actually designed us a bit of a drawing here as to how they work. Groups are how we group users and sites together. Okay, so sites we'll jump into in a little bit, but all our gateways that are on the Polar system and all the gateways that you're going to be installing need to be part of the site. Okay, those sites, obviously you want to have access to them. We link those sites to groups, and we can then use groups to then give access to different users. All right, so what I'm going to show you guys here now is just a bit of a layout of what this could possibly look like. All right, so I don't know how it's, hopefully it's showing up quite nicely on your side as well, but essentially I've drawn a little bit of a flow chart, and I know there's just lines going everywhere at the moment, but we're gonna get to this. All right, so in this section now I've got 3 groups on my site. All right, or 3 groups on my account, and I'm using these groups to give access to different sites. So what we're going to start off with, say I've got site number 1, which has a bunch of gateways on it. I've now linked it, or when I've created my account, I'm now linking it to this group. Okay, we can see here Rita and Mike, we both link to this group, which means that when we log into the cloud, we will see everything connected to this group, which in this case is these 2 sites, and under those sites would be gateways and your actual site setups themselves, your gateways, your devices, your sensors, etc. They would all fall under the site category. And then from there, we can manage the access of users to those sites with our groups. Okay, so you can see, for interest's sake, I, Mike, created an account. I now wanted to invite another user, Rita in this case, to this account. I would then use that user invite. I'll show you that just now as well. But essentially, when they log in now, they'll have access to this group as well, and so will I. Okay. Then on my side, you'll see that Mike is also added to group 3. So what's happening here is that when Mike logs in, he can now see everything on group 1 and everything on group 3. Okay, so depending on how you lay out your groups and how you lay out your sites will depend on the access that's given to the clients. Okay, so we'll see in this instance as well, Mike, yes, he's now added to group 3, which gives him access to site 4, but also John is added to group 3. Okay, and in the event that I needed to, John could be added to one of these other groups as well, either directly to the group, or what the last part here is that groups have parent groups as well. Okay, and what that allows is that we can then essentially, it sounds a bit silly, but group multiple groups, so that you can have access, say, as in this case now, we've got James here. He has access to this parental group. So instead of adding James now to each group individually, James can just be part of his parent group, which will give him access lower down to the reins. Okay, so depending on what you're trying to achieve, you can use groups for your advantage to position users in a certain way that they can see certain aspects. All right. So what I'm going to show you now is just actually how to add a group. So you'll see in this case, my Polar demo account has access to these 4 groups. Okay, and it shows you a little bit of information as to what's happening. Is the group enabled? Is it suspended? When was the data originally created? How many gateways are on that group? How many devices are on that group? And how many users are also alongside me linked to this group? All right. To edit a specific group, we can click on the edit section, and that will bring up this menu. All right. But that menu is essentially the same as when I'm adding a new group. All right. So when we're starting to add a new group, I'll give my group a name. And then from there, I will select a parent group. I don't have to select a parent group, but I can if I want to. And from my example earlier, if I want to create this tiered structure to my different sites, I can then use that parent group to do that. All right. This is obviously, again, editable after the fact. So if you do make a wrong group by mistake, or need to delete a group, or need to change a group name, or change its parent group, you can do that through the edit section. So generally, when you create your account for the first time, you'll have what we call a default group. So it's a good idea that in the start, you go in and change your group name just to make it a bit more personalized for yourself. And then obviously you won't have a parent because your group would be the parent group going forward. Okay. So then each subsequent site, if we're going to limit access to clients, we're going to create groups for them and choose your parent group as the parent section in this section here. Okay. So if I say I wanted to add a bunch of sites under EM Weinberg that I only wanted certain people to get access to, I would then use this group, have EM Weinberg as the parent, and I could make, say, the EM Experience Center here the child of that. So now I could have certain users only have access to the EM Experience Center, whereas other users could have access to the whole site. All right. So that's pretty much groups. I think I'm going to pause there for now and just see if everybody's happy with that. If there's any questions, please feel free to reach out. I will wait 1 or 2 minutes here now for your questions.
Okay, hi Mike, can you hear me?
All right, cool. So I think you guys are happy with that. Let's move to the next section. I hope that was informative on the group. Okay, cool. Nikhil, I see you've raised your hand.
Yeah, Mike, I think someone had a question. Just don't think you could hear them.
Okay, hi Mike, can you hear me now?
Oh, apologies. Nikhil?
Thank you.
Nikhil, sorry, man, can you repeat that question?
No, for what I was saying is someone else has a question. Yeah. They are speaking on their mic, but I don't think you can hear them.
Apologies, I see my speakers were muted. Okay, please, who was the person? Please shout.
Okay, hi Mike, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect, thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now, Mike?
I can see you. Thank you.
Okay. Right, Mike, when we go there on the ID, okay, on that ID side, what happened was I had some of polar cases. What would happen, a query would be saying that they've got a name there, but it's a different name. Now, when I tried to go to edit and change it, it would not allow me.
Okay, so what, that the platform wouldn't change, wouldn't so you editing something, you're clicking save and it's not changing.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so we'll address that. I'll give you a chat then after this, and then we'll address that. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Okay, guys, just give me 2 seconds here. Okay, thank you for that, guys. I'm going to move to the next section. Okay, fantastic. So we've now setting up our groups, right? So the next thing we're going to do, so what we're doing here, we're just going to move in order of setting up a site. Okay, so I've bought a Polar Gateway. I'm now trying to move and set up a whole site. And we're going to go from, basically, you've installed the gateway at this point. We are now setting up the cloud portion. So we're going to set it up so that we get to the point where we're going to add our gateway and we're going to actually see the data. Okay, but obviously we're going to go through the section of creating the right control, the right access control is what I'm meaning, and setting up your account for success so that you can obviously scale it out when you're installing more devices down the line. Okay, right. So the next one we're going to talk about is setting up sites. Okay, so as I mentioned, sites are now your physical sites in the field. So in my instance here at Electromechanica Wynberg for me would be a site. Okay, sites are how we group gateways together, and it's also how the licensing is built on. All right, so we're going to go quickly through how the sites are created. All right, and we will essentially after this be adding gateways to the site, and then obviously adding devices to the gateways. All right, so we're going to jump into creating a site now. So I'm going to go back to the home page just so we have a solid base to move off. All right, and I'm going to head into the site section, which is obviously here on the bottom left, or alternatively in the menu on the left-hand side there as well. All right, so again, we'll now see my sites here. All right, so if I'm creating a new site, I will then click on Add Site here in the top right. You'll see generally in the Polar Cloud, we'll always have a top right menu. And this is where I can give my site a name and a description, and I can select the group that I want my site to be part of. Okay, now remember from the last chat, groups are obviously where we have our users and the user access control. So I want to now say I want to add my site under my group of Electromechanica Wynberg. Okay, so once I click add here, that would add a new site to my list. All right, and what we can do is we can actually do that. Test site. I'll give it a basic description. Okay, and I'm going to add it under my Electromechanica Wynberg site. Okay, cool. So you'll see that's automatically added my site, and you'll notice that it starts with a site trial license. Okay, that license is valid for 7 days and allows you to add as many things to the site as you want to, after which it'll obviously calculate for your licensing. All right, but you'll see on these other sites is that they've got a 500 tag license. Okay, and under the site now, I can now add my devices and add my gateways to the site. All right, so that's as simple as clicking add device. I'll then use my gateway and add the gateway serial number, add my